All right. Welcome back to the Cell Talk podcast with your host, Marcus Selly. Thank you so much for watching, viewing, subscribing, and listening. And in this episode, we're going to talk about fear. We're also going to talk about something I heard from a podcast with Mike Tyson and something from a cool movie. So when I was kind of starting out the process of trying things that I was fearful of, right? One of the biggest challenges I had was I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know which steps I should take, and I didn't know, what the perfect process looked like. And so I was also really afraid to make the wrong step. I was afraid to just look stupid. I was paralyzed by indecision. And the longer I waited to make that decision or make that step, the harder it became to take that step, and it was harder to begin. And I remember I was kind of waiting to be ready to do something that I kind of found scary, and I was waiting to find the courage to find that to take that first step. And yeah, that was really difficult. I remember just in terms of several aspects of life, I remember I was paralyzed by just not knowing what was the correct step. And it was almost like I was waiting until someone gave me permission to execute on something that I really wanted. And yeah, I just found that period just really challenging. For example, with working out and health, I remember I was probably like 16, 17, and I was waiting until I could get that motivation before I was going to the gym. So I would look up some dumb YouTube motivational stuff, and then I was kind of waiting in bed, and then I believed like, okay, this is the step, and now I'm motivated, and now I'm going to go to the gym. And after a couple of days, I was like, did this doesn't work. This kind of waiting around until you get that motivation or that drive to execute, it just didn't work. And so what I kind of realized was I was never going to feel ready to take that jump. I realized that no one was going to come and help me and motivate me or drag me out of bed or tell me what the right thing was or what I should do. And because I kind of knew what I should do, right? I kind of knew which kind of steps that I should do. I should eat healthy. I should work out. I should work on my business. I should do something. And then I kind of asked that question, why am I not doing the things that I know I should be doing? And I know the things that are good for me. Because before the question was, what should I be doing? But now the question is, why am I not doing the things that I already know I should do? And I think that's a big question for a lot of people. It's like, you kind of probably have an idea of what's the right action steps for you to take to get you to the place that you want to be, but it's like, why aren't we doing those things? And so I think that's a big question to ask yourself. It's just I've asked myself that for so many times, and so just starting that process of understanding, okay, maybe it is the question isn't what should I do, it's why am I doing the things that I know is good for me and I know that I already know. Because for my sake, I was also every time looking for answers externally, and I was never going internal and asking the same questions for myself and trusting that my answer was the right answer. The fear for my sake was a big one. I remember just how much time I spent on fearing doing that thing, and the fear of looking stupid for in front of people or starting out, and you don't have that audience, you don't have that following, which makes it look more cool or whatever. And so, and I wrote this down. I heard this somewhere. It's like how much time we spend worrying about things that never happen. I think that's such a like how much time we actually spend worrying if something is going to happen in school or work, or if a boss is going to yell at us, or we're going to fail at a degree, or get a bad grade, or do something embarrassing, right? And we have that experience where we're really fearful of something that's going to happen, and then the thing never happens. So it's so very interesting to just watch your own mind be unrealistic with going to the worst outcome possible, and then nothing happens after, right? And so kind of watching that and seeing, okay, maybe you can remember all the times you worried and nothing happened, and remind yourself of maybe this is one of those times that you just worry because of you worry, and then yeah, nothing good's come from worrying. Like for my sake, the worry hasn't helped. It's just, for example, with grades, if I got really stressed out during a test or a presentation, my my performance was going to be worse, and that's happened every single time my stress or my worry has kind of been so big that it's affected kind of the outcome. And so yeah, just worrying doesn't help. The question I asked myself was, we often ask ourselves, how can we get success? Rarely do we ask ourselves, why don't we want success? Because I think, for my sake, I've watched how difficult it is to change, for example, my habits, and I kind of didn't understand why, right? And so if and I kind of did some research, and I understood kind of the subconscious mind. And for people not understanding this, it's like your conscious is whatever is your current thoughts and your present thoughts, right? But your subconscious is just below that glacier, right? Underneath the water. And so you don't know how it is affecting you. And so kind of realizing how powerful your subconscious is, and how it can kind of pull you away or even resist and make you self sabotage from current or new opportunities, right? So that's a big one, with just watching how your subconscious work and asking just new questions. Why am I not doing the things I know I should be doing? And instead of asking, how can I get success? It's like, why don't we want success? Why is success bad? Do I have any beliefs around, for example, if I ask you, how do you view the 1%, right? How do you view the top 10%? Do you believe that they're nice people? Because, for example, we always hear bad things about the 1%. And if you're trying to get there, you don't like the 1%. And so now you're going to resist being there, and maybe sabotaging your own opportunities. So, yeah. And so the second thing that I kind of wanted to touch upon today was something I heard a podcast with Mike Tyson. And in this interview, he kind of just gave some brilliant advice to a guy that I think had a difficult period in his life. And I'm going to kind of summarize what he said and maybe put the clip down below. And so he said, life is beautiful, but we have to accept the good and the bad as being beautiful. You can't only accept the good as being beautiful, and something bad happens, we lose somebody, and then we say life sucks. Life is beautiful because it gives the ability to just know them on our journey. We met them, we cared about them, they cared about us. The purpose is to enjoy the journey through it. Sometimes we don't understand, what's my purpose? Why do I have to go through this pain? Why do I have to go through all this fear all the time? Why can't it just be peaceful all the time? And then he said, then it wouldn't be life. We have to take life on life terms, not on our terms. And he basically talked about how if you have put labels on certain experiences that you go through, and you view it as bad or good, it really can affect how your whole relationship with life, right? And so we can't always just watch and all, because life happens, right? Bad things happen. People get sick, people die, right? and kind of reminding yourself of, okay, that's just a part of life, and kind of accepting everything as it's neither good or bad. It's just that's the journey we go through. Because if we kind of hold on to certain things and trying to resist change, or trying to, for example, for my sake, holding on to certain friends, and and yeah, because and then you realize that nothing is permanent. Nothing in life is permanent, and everything is going to change. Who you're with, how your life is going to be, and kind of just enjoying that journey and enjoying that uncertainty. And I'm not saying that people have it super difficult, but then kind of changing your label with how you view an experience as good or bad can really help you. And I can understand that in certain situations, it can be really difficult to find the good in the bad, right? But just try to really do that, and it's easier said than done. And maybe in the future, I'm going to bite myself in the tongue and say, "Oh, that I can't do that," right? And so, but I'm going to aspire to. I'm going to try to. A different thing that I heard from a movie, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but I'm gonna, as the same with the podcast interview, I'm gonna put it in the link below. Um, it's this um there's this guy. He's in outer space, and he's in a capsule, and he wakes up, and the spaceship is going to go from one planet to a different planet, and it takes, I think, 100 years to get there. And he wakes up in and he's all alone, and he has to spend 90 years by himself, basically, and then he's going to die by himself at that spaceship, right? And he's really depressed, and he doesn't know what to do. And there's this robot bartender that kind of just gives him some advice when he's depressed and alone and doesn't know what to do. And basically it said, "You're not where you want to be. You feel like you're supposed to be somewhere else. Say you can snap your fingers and be wherever you wanted to be. I bet you still feel this way, not in the right place. The point is, you can't get so hung up in where you'd rather be that you forget to make the most of where you are. Take a break from worrying about what you can't control." This is like, this is probably some difficult to that guy who's gonna spend 90 years alone, right? He's like, You're not where you want to be." Yeah, I'm not. I'm fucking locked in a spaceship for 90 years. But for most people, I can relate to this, where you think, yeah, you're not in the right spot in your life. You feel like you're supposed to be somewhere else, maybe in a different country, maybe in a different career path, and you have no clue, like, and you're so frustrated that it can't change. And so we feel like we're supposed to be something else, and we're supposed to have something else. But spending that energy is so wasteful, right? It's like trying to focus on what you already have around you. It's just with gratitude. If you listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about this all the time, where if you focus on making the most of where you already are, the opportunities you have already around you, and the people you already have around you, you're probably going to start to notice that you have a lot more around you than you realize. And just taking a break from worrying about all the things that probably is not going to happen, that you have no control over. For example, for my sake, I spent so much time worrying about, after I finish a project or a test, I was worrying about what grade I was going to get, right? But I can't control that. I can't control what the teacher or the boss or the coach is going to tell me if it's good or bad. He is in the control, and so why should I worry about something that I can't control? Um, so yeah, that's a big one. It's like, and yeah, that those two ideas just really hit, and I kind of wanted to share it on the podcast. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was the your relationship to time, and especially with young people, and including myself. I think that we think that this experience is permanent, that we always gonna have tomorrow, and gonna we in the future are gonna do that thing or take that risk or ask that girl out. Um, and one thing that I kind of try to grasp my head around is if you can create a healthy relationship with knowing that you're gonna die someday. And this might sound very like dramatic, but that creates the urgency to really truly do the things and take the risks that you maybe procrastinate on, right? And one thing that I really like to do is kind of look at your grandparents or someone older and then imagine that they are someone's kid, that they too were in the same position as me and you. Because our mind kind of tricks us that and believing that things are permanent, and the truth is that nothing is permanent, and everything that you and I have and do has a time limit. And so it's kind of coming to you. And if you don't remember kind of that idea, you will not do those things. You will just sleep in, and you're not going to have that same determination and the focus and understand that this isn't a temporary experience. It's like, it's really important to just understand that. And it's like, because I've caught myself in that so many times, and still today, it's like, I push it on to tomorrow. I can always do it tomorrow, but then I never do. If I don't do it today, I'm never going to do it. That's kind of my new way of thinking about it. It's like if I'm not going to do it today, I'm never going to take that opportunity or do that thing. I'm just going to procrastinate on it. And like I said earlier in the podcast, the longer you wait, it's harder to execute and do the thing. So really just grasping that is idea of this kind of the experience that you and I have is temporary, and really just going for it. And yeah, maybe it's fearful, and maybe it's really difficult to do the thing that you want to do. But then again, it's like the idea of okay, this life is going to end someday really creates that urgency to act and do the things that you should do today. So yeah, I think that's it for this episode. This is going to be episode number 4, and I'm really excited. I've already recorded a different podcast with a very cool guest coming on, probably this week in audio form and on YouTube later. Maybe you've seen him before. He has a huge audience, and I'm really excited to see. Yeah, if you guys like the episode, and I don't want to really reveal the name yet. But yeah, he's a very cool guest to come on. So yeah, I'm gonna see you probably next week, and yeah, have an amazing day and create the new mindset.